Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the Oath of Pestilence Paladin in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod made by Havsglimt here. Now the Oath of Pestilence is all about illnesses and plague, filth, disgusting diseases, everything nasty. This has a bunch of unique abilities which I'll be breaking down in this video, and first you have the miasmatic tumors here, so cover your body in a thick fetid tumors, reducing incoming damage by amount equal to your charisma modifier. A creature that attacks you with a melee attack costs the tumor to burst, inflicting 1 to 4 necrotic damage, possibly infecting the attacker. You also get the Herald of Decay, which makes your character look a little gross, and you get to choose between different tags. So if you want the Vengeance, Crown, or Oathbreaker tags, or no additional tags there. And for our ability scores, you can build around strength and go with like a stat spread of something like this, going 14 Constitution, 16 Strength, and 16 Charisma. I like to typically go with a little bit of dexterity there and use a dex it in. You don't have to, but you can choose between the two stats there. Dex is just really good in Baldur's Gate 3 because it gives you extra initiative, which is only a d4 die. So you can choose between dex or strength, or even use a strength potion or strength boosting gear if you wanted to. Level 2 gives us our Divine Smites. As well, we get to choose a fighting style. Defense typically ends up being a pretty big bang for your buck, but great weapon fighting is also great, especially because you can reroll your damage die, and that's usually a flat out boost to overall damage. So you can choose between those two there. And then for our spell list, the only ones we really want to use is Command and Divine Smite. You can take the Thunderous Smite there though, just because it is nice to get the pushback on enemies. Bless is good, and Shield of Faith as well for extra armor class or a boost to your overall attack rolls and saving throws. Now at level 3 we get our Divine Health and the Inflict Wounds and Bane spells. We also get some useful ones here with the Debilitating Fever, inflicting a debilitating disease on a target creature, incapacitating it at the end of each target's turn. It can do a Constitution saving throw, ending the effect early on a success. It also has the Anthropic Infection here, weakening a creature against the anthropic energies. The target takes an additional 2 to 12 necrotic damage the first time it takes necrotic damage each turn. And if the creature is resistant, it is removed. Now, they actually did a cool way of implementing this. So how it works is it applies a vulnerability. So if you see a vulnerability, don't get too excited. But what it does is it puts the vulnerability on, and then it also does a 50% damage reduction. So it's effectively like removing the immunity there. So it's just the way that it ends up working here. And I think it's a cool way of making it work. So I just wanted to cover that quickly there. And I guess for our next spell, we'll go with Heroism or Wrathful Smite. Doesn't really matter too much. We got exactly what we want already. Level 4 gives us our very first feat and another Lay Hands charge. I would recommend at this point Alert is never a bad idea to go for, just because it is a just useful one to have, especially on a Paladin to go around and set up in a good position. Or you can go with a boost of Charisma or your Strength or Dexterity, depending on where you want to build around. Level 5, extra attack. That's really nice. And we also get the Melf's Acid Arrow, a spell we're never going to use because there's no real reason to, and it only does a 44 of acid damage, when our Divine Smite can do a lot more for less spell slots. And Ranged Enfeeblement is nice too, but not something we will often ever use, just because it holds a concentration on a spell that's not very great. Now, we'll take Branding Smite here, just because this is nice to have. And then we'll also, you can add in the Aid spell too, if you want to be able to boost up your overall team's health a little bit, although it's typically better from a Cleric. Level 6 gives us the Aura of Protection, adding a Charisma modifier to our saving throws in a 3-meter radius. Just be mindful, 3 meters is not very large, so your teammates will likely have a hard time receiving it unless they're like right up close on you. Level 7 gives us the Aura of Rampant Sickness. So you emit an Aura of Contagion and Virulence to a range of 3 meters. When a creature within your aura makes an attack or saving throw, you can impose disadvantage on it, which is actually really good. So huge tankiness, and it keeps your teammates safe, so you can have them all kind of huddle up together, getting the boost of saving throws, and enemies will not have an advantage on their attack rolls. Now, it's kind of funny to take Greater Restoration, kind of the opposite with this build, or this the lore this is all about. But we'll continue down there and take an ability score improvement is nice. Sentinel is never a bad thing, especially on a character like this. Is kind of like a protector. You can use this to boost up your damage a little bit. Savage Attacker is also quite nice of a feat to take. Since we're going to level 20, we can also kind of afford more feats. But you can even just go with the Charisma improvement as well. I think Charisma improvements are nice too, just because getting a boost to your Charisma means more saving throw bonuses. Once we get to level 9, we get a unique spell here with our Flash Fever. Target a creature and break it out in a fever, taking 1 to 6 fire damage at the start of its next turn. When the spell persists, you can use your reaction to force it to take fire damage again, increasing it by 1d6 each time. So ramping up that fever, pretty cool. And also Stinking Cloud, preventing enemies from taking actions. And we get access to Spear Shroud. if you have Mistress spells installed. You don't have to take any of the Mistress spells here, they're just automatically selecting. Take Blinding Smite. Revivify also works pretty decently well here too, just to have kind of the opposite of death with bringing things back to life. Level 10 gives us our Aura of Courage. Enemies cannot be frightened. It's great. This goes all the way up to level 20. The Paladin really got all it needs from its spells. Improved Divine Smite adds 1d8 damage onto all of our attacks, which is another nice boost to our overall damage output. Once we hit level 12, another feat. At this point, you can go with the Sentinel feat as mentioned, or you can go with an improvement to Charisma or Strength Dexterity, depending on your attack rolls. And level 13 gives us actually our first decent necrotic spell, because we can apply removing the resistance to necrotic damage, and then we can do a Blight by doing an 88 of damage. And Confusion's actually a pretty useful spell as well. So these are ones that we wouldn't mind taking just because we don't have access to higher level spells. So we're going to basically get every single Paladin spell here. Level 14, just flat out another level, more health, more spell slots. Level 15 gives us the subclass feature, the Disgusting Resilience. When you take damage that would reduce you to 0 health, you regain 1 health point instead of becoming downed. In addition, if you're killed, your corpse violently explodes in a shower of pus and gore, dealing 4 to 48 necrotic damage to all nearby creatures that fail a Constitution saving throw. Alrighty. Yeah, that's Oath of Pestilence for you right there. Next up, level 16 gives us another choice in feat. And since we don't want to explode into pus and gore, we're going to take the tough feat so that we get an extra 2 health points, which will give us an extra 40 at max level. Level 17 gives us some pretty good spells too, Contagion. And Insect Plague is nice just for the crowd control benefits, because you can hold the concentration on this now. It's just nice to have. Since we don't get Spirit Guardians like the Crown Paladin, no real other concentrations are very useful. And I guess we don't hold person like the Vengeance Paladin. That's probably our best concentration. Level 18 gives us the improved aura of Rampant Sickness, increasing the range to 9 meters, which is huge because, yeah, otherwise your Paladin aura is very limited. Level 19, we can, I guess, go with an increase to our Charisma here or to our Strength or Dexterity. I just went with the other more offensive focus feats there earlier. And level 20 gives us our Plague Bringer Avatar of Plague form, granting you resistance to necrotic damage and immunity to poison. Cannot be poisoned with the condition, and your health points cannot be reduced. Enemies who start their turn within 3 meters of you or are within 3 meters of you of their turn take 4 necrotic damage, which is from your Charisma modifier. Once a creature takes damage from this ability, it cannot take it till the next turn. Another flat out damage increase, which is just great to have. Now I'm using Skirby's Dark Knight armored there, so that's exactly the armor. If you want to utilize this is now available on console, both this class mod and this armor mod. Perfect timing, because it looks like a Oath of Pestilence Paladin right there. Alrighty, so for best gear from the game, I like to have the Steel Watcher helmet here because it also looks pretty gnarly there, but it gives you the ability to see in magical darkness. If you go with the evil route in Act 2, you can get Sharp Spear of the Evening, which will give you immunity to blindness, which is also great to have here. And Deathstalker Mantle if you're the Dirge. You don't have to use that though. Cloaks are really whatever you got available. Cloak Protection works great as well. Also have the Armor of Persistence here since I'm not using the Sharp Spear. You can also alternatively use the Armor of Agility if you went with the Dexedin route, or you can use a Heldusk Armor obviously, or Reaper's Embrace. Really your best available heavy armor, and even the Dwarven Splint Mail can be a good set of heavy armor there because it gives you bonuses to your Constitution. Now I also have the Luminous Gloves because even if we don't do Divine Smite, we're going to be doing radiant damage. So best available. You could also use the Luminous Armor in Act 1 too alongside this. And we got the Boots of Stormy Clamor because we're going to do Reverberation whenever we apply Radiating Orbs. So we got a lot of crowd control benefits here to protect the team. And we also have the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel here because after we do a melee attack, we can then do our commands, which is great to have that synergy there. And also the Ring of Protection for the increased armor class. Amulet of Greater Health, but if you have the Parry After Wound closure, this can work extremely well with the Sword of Chaos, which will give you 6 health point every time that you attack. Normally it's 1 to 6, but with the Parry After Wound closure, you always get these 6 damage, and the Sword of Chaos is extra necrotic damage. So this makes the most sense lore-wise. Early game, you can grab the Knife of the Undermountain King there, or even the Infernal Rapier, as I feel like that works pretty decently well too. I also like the idea of Nyrulna on this build, and previously mentioned the Sharp Spear of the Evening. I also got the Hellrider Longbow for that +3 to initiative, and I think that this works out pretty good just for the overall crowd control and damage. So into combat, you apply Reverberation really easily because we apply the Rampant Sickness, so all you have to do is kind of run around with your disgusting little stinky waves of filth, and it'll apply Reverberation because they want to get away from you that badly. Now, we can also go ahead here with some of the spell casting, but I honestly think if you're a paladin, Divine Smite's just your best option. So we'll go again there, boom. You can turn on to reaction smites. I recommend doing that just to make it a little easier on yourself. Just go around attacking insta smites. So yeah, that's kind of the best maneuver for a paladin. Going after spellcasters and then trying to find a place where you can set up in a position where you're going to benefit your team with your defensive boosts. I wasn't able to take them out, but we applied 4 radiating orbs, so that's pretty good. And there's 8 radiating orbs. So we apply radiating orbs from our divine smite, but also from the additional 1d8 of radiant damage. So even if you don't hit a target for a lot of damage, they're going to get a -4 with their attack rolls, which is pretty good. And boom, most times you are going to get a pretty heavy attack. Now we do have level 5 spell slots, which is nice, so we can utilize commands at a higher level. And I like the command approach because we're stinky, so we're going to use this to get them to come towards us. So especially if you can get this on a spellcaster, that's ideal, because then that's one less spellcaster that's going to be giving you a hard time. And I guess we'll be able to get multiple targets here, 40% chance of that last one, and they saved, of course they did. But we were able to get the command approach on this target here, which I wanted because they were going to counterspell me. And I didn't even put on my aura protection there, but that does give your team a nice little boost. Within 3 meters, you get a +4 to saving throws from a charisma modifier. And they run up towards you, and then they take necrotic damage, which is just perfect. So, and the targets that got hit with our commands here are right up on us, taking necrotic damage, which is perfect. This just makes it easy for us to take them all out. And with the Dark Urge robes there, you can get that free invisibility. And that wasn't enough to take them out. But again, 4 radiating orbs is sometimes just enough, and you can just ignore them at that point. And they're down on low health. So if they end up taking damage from our ability there, they'll be downed. We also got a casting of confusion, which is really great. So this is a bonus action cast again. So we'll hit this here. And the target I wanted to hit with it saved, unfortunately. And that was enough to take out that target there, which is just hilarious. So that comes from our aura that we give off and Call the Weak interacting together. And this target here is confused, so you don't even have to deal with him too much because he's going to take somebody else out. Typically, they have a 1 in 10 chance of doing their normal action, so they're likely not going to be doing their normal action. And there you have it. That is the Oath of Pestilence. So honestly, it plays like a normal paladin, but you do get a lot of other special abilities here and ways to power yourself up. This Plague Rigger form is really cool with the gross little stink that you got going around your character, but also being able to apply that necrotic damage can sometimes come in clutch, being able to take enemies out a lot quicker. So yeah, that is the Oath of Pestilence Paladin Monk, or Paladin build by Havsglimt. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Have a great day.